So welcome back. I think we can carry on from where we left on last time. Just a recap, I think we were doing control structures in JavaScript and we saw the kind of control structure we have. That is selection, iteration, repetition, or looping. Then we also looked at branching, right? Of course, sequentially,
Yeah,
our program executes from top to bottom, so that doesn't count as a control structure. So I think today I want us to look at a different. I want us to look at different elements altogether. Um, so I'll create a file here. Call it day14.html. And primarily today, I want us to discuss what we call object data types. So initially, we discussed primitive data types. So they want us to discuss objects in JavaScript. Okay. So just a recap,
yeah,
we said that previously we have two ways that we can store data in database variables. I mean variables in JavaScript, and variables have different types of data, and one of them is primitive data type, made up of things like number, things like string, boolean, boolean. We also said there is null, not nil but null, undefined, and so forth, isn't it? So
yeah,
at five, there are two more that I've not discussed, but again, these are the most common ones that we would use in JavaScript. And remember, we said these are primitive because they can store only one type of one data set at any given point. So you can't store more than one piece of data in them. The next category we have are what we refer to as objects. So objects allow us to be able to store complex data, not necessarily just one shape. It could be things that look are in the same family, like fruits, for example. It could also be real life structures like a person and stuff like that. So examples of this, we look at two today, which is basically what this is all about. So we'll start with arrays. Okay. So what is an array? Have you heard about arrays before?
oh,
Not yet.
yeah,
So we have a type called arrays. An array is a variable that can store more than one value. A variable that can store more than a single value. Okay? So I'll give you a classic example. If I had five fruits and I wanted to store them in variables, I would say something like this. So I'll do my script here. Script, sorry. I'll do a script here. So previously for it to store, what did I do? Okay. Initially the script is after body, but you can still put it at the top, it will still be able to work. Okay.
yeah,
So I like to have it under the body so that JavaScript starts executing after everything else has loaded. So nowadays browsers are intelligent enough, they're able to detect that for you. Okay.
yeah.
So if I want to store fruits, I'll simply say here, uh, uh, let fruit one equals the apple, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I can come again and say fruit two is orange, and wait till fruit three is banana, and fruit four is mango, something of the sort, right? So every time I want to store fruits, I'll have to store them like this, right? This is not very efficient
Yeah,
because I might want to add another fruit on the fly. So it means that if I'm adding another fruit on the fly, it means that I have to redefine or redeclare or yeah, introduce a new variable to hold that value. That is not very scalable. So this one can be solved by an array which says something like let fruits equals to, then I can say an array of the following elements. So that this is one way of defining arrays. So this
Yeah.
is the same as this. Only that these are one, two, three, four variables. This is just one variable. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you don't work with them in the same way. If I wanted to access the elements in this particular array, so apple is an element, orange is an element, banana is an element, and also mango is an element. If I wanted to access an element, like for example here, if I wanted to print fruit number three, I'll simply say console.log, then I say fruit number, fruit number four. So that will be able to output for me on the console mango, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let's try that out and see if that actually is the case. So usually I like to have them side by side so that we are able to see our design versus our output, right?
Yeah.
So I'll need to have this one up first. Then I go back. Then I can set them side by side like that. So I won't see much here, but I can press F12 to show the developer tools or right click then say inspect. So when I open my console, um, fruit 4 is not defined. So yeah, I had commented them from here, so they're not defined. But if I do that, you can see it gives me mango, right?
Yeah.
But what if I wanted to access mango down here? So I'll just mask this. I'm just to show the difference. So here, now whenever you want to access uh, an array element, you'd have to specify its position. So this is position 0, 1, 2, and 3. So arrays are zero-based indexes. So it means that we start counting at 0, 1, 2, and n minus 1. Okay.
Yeah.
If I wanted
Yeah.
to access mangoes, I'll simply say here console.log fruits, then I'll give the element inside a square bracket. So here I'll simply say 3. And if I do that, you can see it still gives me mango. So if I put 1, it should give me orange because this is 0. Then if I put 0, it should give me apple. Are you seeing that?
Yeah.
So that's how we access elements in an array. So besides accessing elements in an array, we can also do several things with arrays. And some of the things we can do with arrays is first of all to list all its values. Now, if you wanted to list all the values of an array, like whatever it has, maybe say I want to flatten it, I'll simply say here console.log, then I'll take the array, then I'll simply say join. Okay. Like that. So when I say join, you can see now it is giving me apple, orange, banana, and mango. So it is giving me exactly as it is over here. Okay.
Yeah.
So join will basically flatten the array. By the way, if I output the array as it is without the join keyword, it will still be able to output, but now you can see it's actually an array of four elements. Okay. So you can see
Yeah.
output and this other output what they actually mean. They are totally different things altogether. One flattens it as a text, of which you can specify your separator here. Maybe I want a full colon to separate them. You can see to separate them with full colons. Okay,
Yeah.
so that is one of the methods of an array. The other methods of an array that you can look at is counting how many elements are in the array. So that will allow me to count how many items are in the array. As you can see, there are four. So one, two, three, and 4. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing you might want to do with arrays is probably to an element in the array. So how do you add an element? And by that it will depend. whether you want to add it at the beginning of the array or at the end of the array. So if you want to add an element at the end of the array, let me say, for example, I want to add a new fruit here. So remember, I have said this is let, but I can actually use const. Okay?
Yeah.
Because we said const, it means that the data type does not change. We cannot reassign its value. It is not hoisted, isn't it?
Yeah.
So all those property apply. So then, how then do we add an element in the array uh, if it is not editable? So yeah, we would use something like this. So I can simply say here fruits dot push. Push will add an item to the end of that array. So you can see I have added pineapple here. Okay,
Yeah.
it wasn't initially in the original array, but I've added pineapple. So push will add an element at the end of the array. Okay, that's what push would do. Now, what if I wanted to remove the last element in the array? I'll use pop. So to remove the last element in the array, I'll use pop. So you're not going to see the difference here because I added the pineapple, then I removed it. Okay.
Yeah.
What if you want to add an element at the beginning of the array? Okay. What would you do if you wanted to add an item at the beginning of the array? You'd use and shift. So if I say fruits dot push dot shift and shift rather, then and shift, I'll simply say I want to add there strawberry. So you can see strawberry has been added at the beginning. Okay, not well spelled, but the element of it. So you can see now strawberry has been added at the beginning of the array. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to remove an item at the end of the array, what do you use? Use shift. So shift will remove the element at the beginning of the array. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, also part of the array is we might want to sort the array because you can see, well, I can mix these ones up. Well, let me have here uh, apricot. Let's have here apricot. Let's have here apricot. So apricot will be there. Then maybe you have banana, or banana is already there. Then we have blueberries, blueberries, something like that. So I can have this one like which uh, which fruit starts with the letter Y?
Uh.
Can do popo,
Yeah.
popo. So you now have this array looking like this. Sometimes it might not look nice. I might want to sort it before I actually output it, right?
Yeah.
So for me to sort the array, I can simply come here and say to sort the sort array. So to sort the array, you'll simply say sort like that. Then you can see now I have apple, apricot, banana, blueberry, mango, orange, and pawpaw. That is sorted, right?
Yeah.
In ascending order. What if you want to sort it in ascending order? In descending order, rather. In descending order, yes. So start with pawpaw, then do the other way. So I would sort, then I would say reverse. Okay?
Yeah.
So now you can see that way sorts purple, orange, mango, blueberry, banana, like that. So there's a reverse. A reverse simply, if I just use reverse without the sort, what it would have done is it would just reverse the array elements, which means the first one becomes the last one.
That's all.
Okay?
No.
So you can see now blueberry was the last one here. Then apricot, so it starts with blueberry, apricot, like that. So it just reverses the array, right? But reversing does not necessarily mean it is sorted. So first of all, I was using sort. Then after sort, then I do the first. The first sort will do it in will arrange the items alphabetically. Okay. Once
Yeah.
I arrange them alphabetically, the next reverse will basically now change their position, which means the first one becomes the last one, and so forth and so forth. So you can see with tools like this, it makes it very, very easy for us to work with arrays. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there's only one small challenge with arrays that these ones are okay. If it has these things like this, that will totally be okay. Let me declare another array here called nums. And these numbers, by the this is another way of defining your array. Yeah. So
Yeah.
initially I could say array, then I give the elements, or I can put a square bracket, then I also list the elements. Okay. So those are the two ways within which you can define your arrays. Okay. So there is no right or wrong way. It's basically a matter of preference on what you prefer. Actually, most of the time you'll find me defining it with the second method over here. But of course, I like teaching based on the first method over here. So there.
Yeah.
So now if I have this array and I say I want you to observe this, I'll simply say um, uh, uh, nums dot sort. Okay. Then I simply say console.log nums. Now you can see the way it's appearing 9, 12, 23. Has this one sorted it properly? This one has sorted properly, right? Now let me,
Yeah.
because the numbers are actually, let me put something like 1001 here and put 10 here, then put 2008 here, right? Now you can see, is it sorted alphabetically? Is it sorted properly?
Uh, no.
Why? You can see it's taken 10, 1001, 12, 2008. So it's not sort of this thing like a number, right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem we have with the sort method. It sorts by default alphabetically. So it assumes that everything is alphabetical.
Yeah.
Okay? So
Yeah.
if you want to make it behave or sort these things as numbers, what you're going to do is we're going to just give it we're going to say number, then we're going to say sort. Then in the sort, we're just going to put something like this. We'll take what it does is it takes the first number and the second number. Sorry, it takes the current number and the previous number and check if the current number, if you subtract them, it means the first number is greater than the next number. So it's able to sort them alphabetically in that order. Okay. So that way, why is it telling me num is not? It's nums actually. Sorry, nums. So that now you can see it is organizing it, it has organized it properly. Okay. So
Yeah.
now this one could be written as is just sort, then you take the two numbers, the current one and the next number, then you return current minus previous. If you want it the other way around, sort in descending manner, you take B minus A. Okay.
Yeah.
If you take B minus A, it will sort it the other way around. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is the only challenge you'll find with sorting out numbers. Otherwise, when it comes to arrays and how to uh, add elements, how to remove elements, by the way, you can also change the value for a specific index in the array. Okay. Let's, for example, let me not remove anything. Let me not remove anything. Let me have it full as it is, right?
Yeah.
So if I wanted to change the second, the first item from strawberries to maybe say grapes. So what I would do here, I would simply come and say fruits, then I'll pick an index, then I say I want the first element, then I want to change it to watermelon. So you can see now the first element was apple. Now I've changed apple to watermelon. You can okay. Probably maybe what I needed to have done is because this one has been jagged like that. So you can see first of all I had did I do anything? Yeah, I added a pineapple at the beginning. So pineapple started. Then I added strawberry at the end. Strawberry went at the end. I think I reversed it at some point here because I'm not seeing any run that. Um, well, maybe I might not need to add this. Let me just leave it as it was so that I know I'm working on the same array. So if I take the first fruit here, you can see the first one was apple, then orange. Then I've said replace the second one with watermelon. So now I have apple and watermelon instead of orange. So that is how you can also update an element in the array. Okay.
yeah,
So arrays are very important as you can see. Unlike the previous data types that we're using, like number and string and boolean and null and undefined, you can see this one is a little bit more civilized. It has functions that can allow us to be able to store more values. It can allow us to sort. It can allow us to add an element. It can allow us to remove an element, add an element at the end, remove an element at the end, add an element at the beginning, remove an element at the beginning. It can allow us to sort the numbers. It can allow us to sort them in reverse order and stuff like that. Okay. So you can
yeah,
see this becomes very, very powerful, especially when we'll be dealing with data. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, so this is the first element that I want us to discuss. Now, I think I can give you an opportunity. Then you can try it out and tell me about it. Maybe you can use other things. You might use apples and oranges. You can use fruits, or you can use vehicle models, whatever it is that or vehicle types, maybe buses, cars, sedans, lorries, pickups, and all that kind of stuff. So the whole idea is just understand how these arrays work. Okay?
yeah. Yes.
Okay, you can try that out. Then you let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it's okay.
It's all right, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so arrays are again important. As you can see, I'm just trying to pick out the very important aspects of the things that we use every day to make our work much easier.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So besides array, the other type of data object data that is powerful is objects. Okay.
Yeah.
Array is also an object, but then we have objects as in object themselves. So let me give you a classic example. And objects mimic real life real life elements like maybe people, cars, houses and the likes. So let's take
Yeah.
an example and see how we can work with, say, cars, for example. Okay. So
Yeah.
when it comes to cars, I can have a car here. A car can be an object. So let me say here, car or other objects have properties and methods. Properties are physical characteristics, right?
Yeah.
So properties are physical characteristics, characteristics, and methods are actions that can be performed. Okay, actions that can be performed by um, by an object. So usually when we're talking about an object, we'll be talking about both physical characteristics and methods or actions that they can take. Are we together?
Yeah.
Good. So now let's create an object called car. So we have a constant here called a car. Okay. Now a car will be an object, and objects we usually enclose them in curly braces like that. Okay. So you can see in arrays we wrap them in square brackets. Uh, Objects, on the other hand, are enclosed rather in curly braces. So that's the difference. Okay. Arrays,
Yeah.
normal square brackets, as you can see over here, whereas objects are in braces. Now, with the objects, we usually provide what we call a key value pair. So, in objects, we have what we call key value pair. Okay, so you'll have a key and a value. key and a value. So, for example, I can have a car, then I say the model here, that's the model, and I have model, then I give it a value. Right, okay? Then I can have something like color, I give it black. Maybe I can have something like year of manufacture, is that. Then I can have another, maybe say gears or transmission, is that. Then I can have something like war again, a shape or type. It could something like a sedan, isn't it? Or an SUV. So this is brand. Let me start with brand, then model. Model here. Let me say Prado or Land Cruiser Prado, like that. Okay.
yeah,
So those these are, as you can see, these are physical characteristics of the car. Now, if I wanted to access the different details of the car, I could say something like um, I want to know the model of the car. I can simply say console.log, then I say car dot model. So when I do that, I'm going to see the model is Land Cruiser Prado. Okay, I can
yeah,
come and say I want console.log. Here I don't want the car. Yeah, you can also do it like this. This is still acceptable. You can do car.model or car model in brackets like this. Okay. I prefer
yeah,
this first method. It's much more elegant if you ask me. So I'll comment that. So let's do another example. Let's say we want to know the transmission or we want to change the transmission. So we can say car dot transmission. Then I say it's equal to manual. Then I can console.log here car dot transmission. So you can see now the transmission is manual, but we started with automatic. Okay.
yeah,
So this is an example of um, an object, and most of the data that we're going to be getting are going to be in this shape. Most of the data we're going to be getting from APIs will most likely be in this particular shape. Okay, let's go ahead. Now these are the properties. So let's call the methods. So for you to call the methods, what you need to do is, first of all, you're going to give the name of the method, maybe say something like start the car. Then you give a full column. Then again, now you can give the function either as um, variable. You can give it as as we mentioned that we can define function in so many ways, right? One of the ways it was function declaration. So you can do a function declaration, but at the same time, I prefer to use arrow functions for this particular case because I'm not expecting to use this. So usually, I just give um, another function like that. Then I give the details of the arrow function. So I can console.log there and say the car has started. Then maybe say I can say ignition type. So start type, because you can start the car in so many ways. Then I can also put here start type. Okay. Now startup is not going to appear, but when I want to start a car, I'll simply say console.log. Then I'll say start car, console.log, then car.start. So car, then I'll run this method called start, then I'll start keyless. So you see, if I do that, uh, this should be console. So you can say this car has been started keylessly. I can also say here via RFID. So I have started the car with RFID. Okay. I
yeah,
can also start the car remotely. So I can say remote start. So you can see now, when it comes to starting the car, I just need to mention how the car started, then I can start the car that way. Now, of course, I know this one is not, this is not, this is not the best way to to this just as some straight text, but of course, ideally, this is how I write the logic for starting the car inside there. Okay, you can put another method, like maybe say, what else can a car do? A car can be stopped, right?
Yeah.
What else can a car do? It
Uh,
can drive.
yeah.
What else can a car do? It
Uh,
can brake.
yeah.
Braking and stopping, is it the same thing?
No.
I like that. What's the difference?
To stop uh is to yeah, it's stop, it's not moving, it's in a motionless state.
And braking, of course, it was moving then, it halts briefly, isn't it?
Yeah.
So again, you see now the logic as you're designing your object, you try to mimic real life situations. Eh?
Yeah.
And this is very powerful because when you have this, then it makes it very, very easy for you to now be able to model several set of things. And this is where now object oriented programming comes in. By the way, this one also introduces object oriented programming in JavaScript. Okay.
Yeah.
Because now you see we have an object called a car, we have the properties, then we have all the methods. Then I can just pick that car and respond to its methods. Look at it like, for example, I'm talking about a printer. So with a printer, I have the paper size, I have the orientation, I have the printing type, what it's going to be, what it's going to be double-sided or single-sided, what it's going to be color or black and white, and so on and so forth. Those are properties, right?
Yeah.
But then it comes to now how it prints. For example, there's a paper jam. It should tell you, it should print, it should cut paper, it should staple. There are printers that do several things. Okay, so you can see if I write it as an object like this, somebody who's consuming that particular API will simply say printer.print. Then they specify the parameters for printing, and they're good to go. The program will do the rest of the things on its own. Okay.
Yes.
These objects are very, very powerful. Once you master out how to use these object data types, then you see how it becomes very, very important. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. You want to try it out? By the way, I can try all of them, and I know they are working because these are basically what do you call them? Um, these are just straight text. So I can say the card.honk console.log. Then you can say take my car, then honk. It does not have any input. Remember, we said variables can have input, but function can have inputs or parameters. But if they don't have or inputs or parameters, we work with them as they are, isn't it?
Yes.
So you can see that one. When I say honk, it's going to say beep beep.
Yeah.
That's what honk does, right? And
Yeah.
by the way, you can write these as arrow functions like that, or you can also use regular functions. So this honk, I can still write as a regular function. So I put the word function keyword here. Then I simply remove this bracket, this fat arrow. Sorry, I remove this fat arrow. It's called a fat arrow. So you can still see it's still going to work nicely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Then yeah. So we have discussed two things separately. We have discussed arrays separately. We have discussed also functions separately. Maybe try that out. Then we see how we can combine the two. Because when you combine the two, now it makes it even more powerful than it already is on its own. Then we can look at higher order functions and how we can use those higher order functions in terms of uh, in terms of how to use these objects. Okay,
Yeah.
I am trying to cut in on the useful things that you can do with these technologies. Because if you were to read a straight textbook, they would give you a lot of details that might not be very, very useful. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I think it's okay.
It's okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, besides just having simple objects like this, is just one object, right? And we have also seen that we also have arrays um, um, up here. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I didn't mention about an array is that you can also loop through all the values in the array. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I forgot to mention that when you're working with the arrays, you can also loop through all the values in the array using either a for loop or a for each loop. Okay. So,
Yeah.
well, since I simply say join, join will simply pick all the elements and use a separator to put them out together. But you might also want to do other things to the array so that now you look through each element at a time. Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot that. Let me just mention that because it's also very useful for us to understand that. So to look through an array, you can either, because we know that we can count how many elements are there. So I can say for Let let's say I is equals to 0, then continue until I is less than, um, then the array, in this particular case, it was fruits dot length, increment by 1, then I can output each fruit. I know I'll need to bring back this fruit to life. So if I was doing that, you can see I'm able to loop through all the elements in the array and output them one by one. Okay, so
Yeah.
to separate, I can simply put something like this. The current fruit is, then I'll put these curly braces like that, then I'll close that. What did I miss out on? Console.log. Okay. Yeah, I have not closed this. So you can see, so it tells me the current fruit is apple, orange, banana, pawpaw, blah blah blah. Then of course it now does the other things as far as the guy is concerned. Okay, so this is one
Yeah.
way you can use it, because I know each array is zero based indexed, and I can count how many elements are in the array. So I'm saying so long as it is less than the length of the array, which means if the array has 10 items, by the time it reaches 10 is not less than the length. So 9 is what is still less. So it will count from 0 to 9 and stop at that. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, you can just use for each. You can say for each, then you put the array element, something like that. That will still allow us to be able to output for each. Actually, it is the array fruits dot for each, like that. So fruits for each is capital E. JavaScript is case sensitive, by the way. So you can see now it is telling us that the fruit is the fruit in for each is, you can see this one is just the normal for loop. This one is a for each loop, so you can navigate through each array element like that. Okay, that's very
Yeah.
important to know, because as you're working with these arrays, we might not be knowing how many elements are inside there, so we just want to look through it to see how to extract how many components are inside it. Sawa.
Yeah.
So now let's look at something else. Let's look at arrays. Let's look at an array of objects. So we have looked at arrays separately. Let's look at array of objects. So typically, we would work with arrays of objects. This is basically an array that is made up, an object, an array that is made up of objects, right?
Yeah.
And they're the ones that we'll be dealing with the most. So I can just mask this. It's already recorded. So let's say we have something like, let's talk about people. We have a list of people that you want to work with and see how things work out, okay? So since you're going to have a list of people, I'll just give examples with three fields where I can give people in terms of name and age. Just name and age, I think, is enough, right? So let me say here, I have const people, and people is an array of, first of all, it's an array, which means it's that. That's an array, right?
Yeah.
The array is made up of objects. That's object, right?
Yeah.
Name and John. So I can put another person, maybe say Jane, and though maybe I can go ahead, add more. It doesn't, okay, but I think even this is enough. This is not bad. We can still use this as our example, okay? So if I have this array, what will happen if I output it? If I say console.log and I say people, just people, you can see it's going to give me an array of three elements: John, Jane, and Doe. Okay?
Yeah.
So this is important now. What if I wanted to change the name of the first person from John to Johnson? Again, because this is an array of elements, this is element 0, this is element 1, This is element 2. So if I wanted to change the name of the first person to Johnson, I'll simply say people, then I'll give the index which is 0, then I'll pick the value which is name, and I'll set it to Johnson, like that. So when I output it, now you see the name is Johnson, not John. And you can change any field like that, so long as I know which element I'm talking about. This is the first element, this is the second element, this is the third element. You can go on and on like that until I exhaust all the elements. Okay, are you together?
Yes.
Now there is something called higher order functions. When it comes to these arrays of objects, so I want us to discuss them and see how they work. Now the first one is I want to sort out I want to sort the people in ascending order from the oldest person to the youngest person. How do I achieve that? If I want to sort people from the highest order to the lowest order, I'll simply use, um, I'm seeing there's something that is suggesting there, but I doubt if that would work out.
Is
I think
it?
it would. I think it would because this is not complicated. Eh?
Yeah.
This is not complicated. So if I output it like that, then you'll see it starts with Gen 25. Actually, I think the fields are clear. Gen 25, Johnson 30, and Doe is 35. So it has arranged them in terms of their age, which is pretty easy. So I'll simply say people dot sort. Then now let me write the long format for this. Long format for this will be something like this: people dot sort. Then I'll have a function with two parameters a and b, and this function will return that. So this is the long format for that statement at the top. Okay, and actually an average programmer would write it in this way. This is much easier to interpolate. Okay, so I can remove this and you'll still see it will still work perfectly. Okay, what it does is
Yeah.
when I say sort, run a function, take the current value and the previous value, then return where the current value minus the previous value. So it means that it is going to sort it in ascending order. If it is ascending, it's going to swap the places. If it's not ascending, it will leave it as it is. Okay,
No.
so that is sort. Then we might also want to sort by if you want to sort by age descending, of course, you're going to do the opposite. This is b minus a, right? If you want to sort it descending, that will be b minus a. Then that will sort from the oldest person to the youngest person. What if you wanted to sort by the name? What if you wanted to sort by the name? What would happen?
Alphabetical order.
Yes, in alphabetical order.
You put I put
You put a
put an array.
you put out
You put shift and shift
no shift will remove
and shift.
and shift will add.
Oh,
Okay, so what you do is you'll use something called local string. Just convert what you're converting to local string, then you'll be good to go. So a classic example will be this. I'll simply say here people dot sort. I don't know if what it tries to do here is going to be okay, but let me try and see. Console.log people. Let's see. Doe, Jane, and Johnson. So that has actually worked well. So what it does is it says if A is greater than B, then return -1, Otherwise, if name is greater than that, return 1. Otherwise, return 0. Well, this is okay. This is okay because what it's saying is people dot sort then take A. A is the previous value, B is the current value. If A dot name is greater than B, return -1. Okay. Otherwise, if A dot name is greater than B, then return 1. Otherwise, if they are the same, then return 0.
0.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's not how I would do it. That's not how I would do it as Richard. What I would have done is I would have said people dot sort A minus B. This is actually what I would have done. So this is much shorter, but it will achieve us the same results as you can see. So what it does is I'm just running a function here, but the function word is not necessary if I'm going to use a fat arrow. Okay. Then here I would come and return these values. And that's how that code works. Okay. This is
Yeah.
the long format. This is the long format. So the short format would be what was written. So you can still see it does the exact same thing. So I'll say dot sort, pick the previous value and the current value, then return where the name, the current value, then you compare, you local compare it, which means compare it as string with the current value. Whichever is greatest, then swap the two places if one is greater than the other. That should be able to allow you to do the comparison. So the short form for writing this is what you had seen, people dot sort, then they give you that. So this is a short form of this. Okay,
Yeah.
and as you can see, these are very simple, um, simple elements. What if you wanted to generate random passwords for them?
Uh, I don't know.
You're supposed to think.
Uh, you.
Okay, well, maybe that's a difficult example, but well, you could still achieve it. Eh?
Yeah.
You could still achieve it. So let me assume that we have a fixed password. Let me assume here we have a function that generates passwords, 4 digit passwords. So function generate password, and this password will basically generate 4 random digit password. Yeah, I think this function here will generate random 4 digits password. Okay,
Yeah.
that is 12. I want it to be 4, and I don't want it to be that complicated. I only want it to be numbers 1 to 10, 0 to 9 rather. I don't want it to be that complex. Okay.
Yeah.
So this will just it's just for each loop, which will just pick a character, then just randomly pick either of these characters, then form a 4 digit password, right? Now I have my people here, and since I have my people, I want to add a password for each person. So if I want to add a password for each person, I'll simply say people dot for each. Then I'll say person dot password generated is equals to generate a new password. Okay.
Yeah.
What it will mean is it will introduce a new field for password for each person because I'm saying people dot for each. So it's going to take whatever I've defined as people. Then for each object, for this object, for this object, and for this object, introduce a password field, and that password field assign it a value where you're now generating this password. Because I've already written the function down here to generate the password form, isn't it? So we
Yeah.
can try that and see what it looks like. So you can now see it has actually generated the passwords for us. So now I have Doe 85, that's the password. Jane, that's the password. Johnson, that's the password. And if I was to add another new person, like maybe say Michael, and they're 18, you'll still see that it has been able to generate a new password for Michael. This is how you now write a real world application. Okay? So we
Yeah.
have already learned how to use functions. So you just write a function to generate a password. How do you generate a password? I can give it the length of the password. Then I do for I equals to 1 to the length of the password incrementing by 1. Then I just pick a random character from that particular list. Then add it to my password. Assign it to my passwords. And then I return the password that was generated. Okay.
Yes.
As you can see, this is not a very difficult element.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, there's something called structuring. Destructuring. Yeah, destructuring. So what happens is, I have these people. Then what I want to do is I want to show the first names only. Okay. So let's say show first names only. So what I can do here, I can say people dot for each name. Now I have destructured. This is how you destructure. So I'll put the value in square brackets. So instead of putting the entire value here as people, because what I would have done is I would put person here. Okay, I would put a person here. Then here I would say person dot name. Okay,
Yeah.
that would have still worked, though Jane, Johnson, and Michael, as you can see, right? But
Yeah.
when I put the curly braces like that, then I put the field that I want. Now I no longer need to repeat this person because it will just be picking the name from this list. So it picks every element, then just extracts the name like that. Okay, and
Yeah.
that's how it is able to output it like that. Do
Yeah.
you see? That's very, very simple. That is
Yeah.
structuring. So you can have a very complex object. Then if I want the name and the password only, I would simply put them here and password. Then I can simply put name is that and password is also that. So you can say I have name and password, name and password, name and password, name and password, and so forth and so forth. Okay?
Yeah.
So that is the structuring. Then
Yeah.
um you might also want to. The opposite of restructuring is what? There's a term they call it here. I've forgotten the name, but you can do the opposite of restructuring, which means you can add a field to an existing element anyway. Okay, which
Yeah.
is what you've achieved with this particular case. But of course, there is also other ways that you can achieve it. Maybe you can do that research. I've forgotten the name. Is called what? I don't use it often as a feature. That's why I think I don't have it right off my head. But there's the opposite of destructuring, which means you pick the area that's existing, then you can add a new element to it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and that is basically how we work with objects as far as JavaScript is concerned. Again, I'll insist, these are very powerful concepts. Tomorrow we're going to do fetch API, and we're going to end up with actually this kind of data. Then you're going to see how we play around with this kind of data. Okay? We're
Yeah.
going to fetch it from a remote location, so you're not going to be hard coding it the way we have done here. We're just going to be picking from a remote place. Then now we start working with it based on that remote place. Okay.
Yes.
Maybe before I go, what if I wanted to filter out people who are older than 25 years only to be shown? If I wanted only people who are 25 years old, what would I do? I would simply say my people array will be equals to. Then I'll pick the array. Then I'll say filter. So on the filter, I'll pick each element. So maybe say a person. Then for each person, I'll run this. Then I'll say return where the person dot age is greater than 25. So this, sorry. So this one person that age is greater than 25. So this one will only give me people who are 25 years and above only. Now the only problem is I'm assigning it here to people. I should have said filtered people because I declared it as constant. Constant, isn't it? So filtered people, I can output here filtered people. So filtered people will only be saying what? Yeah, I did not declare filtered people. And this is wrongly done. I think that's the correct position. And I needed just to have the let here. So I didn't need this first line. So you can see filtered people are only two. Only two people are more than 25. That is John and Doe and Johnson. Okay? One is 35, the other is 30. But if I said less than or equal to, it should also have given me those who are equal to 25. Now I have three of them. Okay? So that's what filter does. It allows you to filter out data. And of course, to write this in a shorthand, I'll simply say, um, I'll simply say something like people dot filter. Then I'll say person. So that is the shorthand of doing it. So here I just say people because I'll just filter it and it returns a fixed value like that. So as you can see again, okay, this might not give me that, but I can say here filtered people equals, then I simply put here filtered people because it will just point to an array. So I can see now it's still three. So even that would still give me that one line of code would still be able to achieve for me the same results. So it all depends. Again, I'm just trying to show you the various options you have in programming and what you can actually use. You can go through the long route, which is this, or you can use the short route, which is this one over here. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and arrays and objects are very powerful elements, as you can see. All that matters is you knowing exactly how to go about it. Okay?
Yeah.
But what's important is you need to practice. Just get to understand how does this work when it's an array, when it's an object, or when it's an array of objects. Now
Objects.
those three things are completely different. We have an array, which is it could be a two-dimensional array or a three-dimensional array. We have an object, which is not anything like an array, but it has properties and methods, and you have seen how we define them. Then we have an array of objects, which means that now I can have data type that can contain as many objects as possible. Then how do I work with the different kinds of objects that I have in JavaScript? That is actually what is very, very key. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. I'll let you practice on that. Tomorrow, we're going to do Fetch API, and most of the data we're going to be dealing with is something that looks like this. Then now, of course, based on what you've learned, we'll probably see how to navigate through each record set, which you have said is for each. You can use a for each. Um, uh, 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 you can use a for each syntax, or you can use a for loop, or you can just use other control structures to be able to look through each array element. Then you can extract the values. Like I can do destructuring to make my work a little bit more easier moving forward. Okay. But
Yes.
what's important is for us to be able to understand exactly how that works out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any question up to that point?
No. Okay, not relating to the subject today. I've understood almost everything.
Okay.
Uh, Mary was asking me when when we were finishing.
Yeah, we're supposed to finish at the end of this month.
Yeah.
So probably by the end of the month, I'll give you four exams: one on
Yeah.
HTML, one on CSS, one on JavaScript, and one that now combines all of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's basically it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll just watch the video and then you have any query, I'll tell you.
Yeah, so tomorrow we're going to look at the fetch API, how we can actually pick data from remote. Remember, we said JavaScript is what gives your app superpowers. As you can see, there right now when we are doing these things, it- they are very powerful concepts, by the way, in terms of how you're going to work with data, how you're going to validate data, and all these kinds of stuff. So now the other thing is just to tie it up together in terms of how do I push data to the backend, how do I pull data from the backend, and I should now be able to put a whole application together based on those three technologies that we had learned. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think then if there's no question, we'll take a break at that. Then we can um, again convene tomorrow at I think before between 4 and 6 and see how we can go about this. Okay.
Yes.